Now let's close this one. And let's go to our employees table. Now we need to fill out our employees table. And since I've already showed you how to do an append, and I've already showed you how to import an Excel document into our offices table, we're going to do the similar thing with this, but we're going to pull it in from a CSV file, which is a really simple file that you can store in a notepad. In fact, I'll show you what they look like. So it's going to look like this. And CSV stands for comma separated values. So we have the names just like we would in our employee list, but they're all separated by a comma. So we have Bob, comma, Blake, comma, phone number, comma, and then his office ID over here, which we haven't even put in here yet. The text is in quotes because that tells Access that this is text. So you see Bob is in quotes here, Blake is in quotes. The phone number is in quotes because remember, we are calling the phone number text because we're not doing any calculations on it. And then this final office ID is a number, so it does not have quotes around it. And now is a good time to pause the video and go to the downloads for this lecture and download the table employee.csv file. And that way you can follow along with the steps as I go through the lecture, and you can practice importing that CSV into your database. And just a quick note about cleaning up the source file. You'll see I have these extra lines here, so I'm just going to use the backspace button to get rid of that, and then make sure that there's nothing that I can't put the cursor down below this so I don't get those extra lines, especially when it's adding a primary key, because it's going to assign a primary key to a blank line. So we have no blanks at the end. I'm going to click Save that. And we're going to do the same thing that we did with our offices table. We're just going to delete this whole thing and import the entire table fresh and new from that CSV or comma separated values file. So we'll close that, delete this. Yes. We're going to go back up to external data. And instead of going to Excel this time, we're going to go to text file. Click on that. Again, we're going to browse to that file. And by searching for table employees, it brings me right to that text file. And this is in a notepad document. Select that. We're importing it. So we're going to click OK. And the wizard is pretty smart. It says your data seems to be in a delimited format. If it isn't, choose the format that more correctly describes your data. And it is indeed. And delimited means that characters such as comma or tab separate each field. Like I explained, right? We have a comma separating each field so that it knows where to create column separations. The other version is fixed width, and that would be they're already aligned in columns with spaces between each field, but this is a delimited set of data, so we're going to leave it on that. We're going to click Next, and it's asking what delimiter is separating your fields. Well, the delimiter is the character that's separating the fields. So in our case, it was commas, right? So we're going to leave it on commas. There are other options if that's how your data is formatted. But frequently, especially in a CSV file, it is commas. The text qualifier is quotes. Remember I was saying each entry that's considered text was surrounded by quotes, and that's how they know that these are text. And then first row contains field names. We're going to leave blank because that file actually didn't have field names in it. It just started right into our information. So we'll add the field names in later. And then we're going to click Next. And again, it's going to ask us to choose the data type. So in field 1 we have text. That's good. It's not going to be indexed. Actually, we can name these now. So we'll name this first name like we did in our original tables when we created them by hand. Then we go to the next one, and this is going to be last name. The next one is home phone. And then this one is the office ID, which we're going to later connect up with our office table, which will be cool. And we're going to just go with integer because those are short numbers. And indexed, yes, duplicates okay is good because we do have duplicates in here. So like for instance, office ID number 3 I believe is Seattle, and you can see we have a number of those in here. Same with number 2, I think that's Los Angeles. We have 3 of those in here. So we do need to allow duplicates, otherwise it's going to give us an error. And that's fine because this is not the primary key in this table. So we're going to click, and I'll tell you more about primary keys. Okay, so then we're going to click next, and it's going to ask us if we want to let Access add a primary key, and again we do, because that will create employee IDs for all of our employees. Now if you already had employee IDs for this list, you'd have to go about it differently, and you'd have to either say no primary key and add one in later, or you'd have to have the employee IDs already in this file, and you would say choose, and then it would allow you to choose it because it would be this first, it would most likely be this first column. But obviously we don't have employee numbers because we want it to assign them. So we're going to click on let Access add the primary key, and there it has done that. So we'll click next, and then we're just going to rename this to lowercase table so we're consistent. Table employees, that'll be our new table. We're not going to have it analyze it, and finish. Not going to save our steps. Okay, and now we can open up our table employees, and everything looks good. We have our primary keys 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We have all of our first names, last names, phones, and office IDs. And we're looking good. So I'll see you in the next lecture.